Hello and welcome to Sports This Morning. I'm Cecilia Omogbe.
And I am Tayo Salam. Many thanks for joining us again.
Yes, on the program this morning, we're still talking about the sack of Coach Rohr, and Nigeria Football Federation is justifying the sack, saying that if Rohr had taken the Super Eagles of Nigeria to the Nations Cup, we could have crashed out at the group stage.
Wow, that's quite the justification now coming from the NFF president, Amaju Pinnick. We still got reactions coming from this development yesterday. Also on the program, still talking football in the UEFA Champions League. And for the first time in my own lifetime, we actually witnessed a revised Champions League last 16 draw. And guess what? Real Madrid are unhappy this morning after initially getting Benfica in the first draw. Then they're going to get PSG in the second draw.
And they'll be playing against their former captain, Sergio Ramos. Know what that means? All right, you know the rivalry between UEFA and Real Madrid?
Of course.
The Super League. Also on the program, the game between Manchester United and Brentford had been postponed. United will not be traveling simply because of the coronavirus outbreak among the squad.
That's quite a shame, but COVID is starting to really disrupt things again. Cecilia, this is not a surprise at all. United Brentford off because of COVID-19 involving Manchester United. We have details of these and more later on the show. Cecilia, but like you said, reactions still trailing the sacking of Rohr. And that one you just talked about coming from the NFF president, it's quite instructive for the #1 man when it comes to football administration in the country.
Nigeria.
Yeah, in the country, yeah.
And also a member of FIFA Council, you
exactly.
know what that means? Okay.
To come out and say what you said about they were actually worried that Nigeria could have really flopped at the AFCON
Nations Cup
if they left the former coach in charge. That is quite, is it harsh?
No, not really harsh. I mean, he was on Sunrise. You know, it was on Sunrise. You know, yesterday morning, immediately when the news broke out, early as in the morning, was on Sunrise via Zoom, and so he talked a whole lot concerning the reason why the coach was sacked. And the first thing he mentioned was that a disaster was actually averted. If not, I mean, something else could have happened. And he went on to explain the reason why he said that. He talked about the fact that the game against Sierra Leone, if we had had more minutes of the game, then there could have been a problem. We could have lost the game. And that's also, and the fact that he talked about indiscipline in the team, it was at its lowest.
Wow.
It was at its lowest indiscipline that was in the team. So, I mean, those things he talked about, if you reason with him, you will discover that the sacking of Rohr was actually right at this time. But I wasn't happy. I felt we should have gone to the Nations Cup with him. But when after listening to him carefully and trying to analyze all the things he talked about, I felt, okay, yeah, maybe they're justified. But do we have the time? We're happy that Augustine Eguavoen, I mean, the last time he was with the Super Eagles, he won a bronze medal for the Nigeria. And also, he has been there twice. And his winning ratio, I mean, according to the stats available, is that out of 15 games, he won 10. 4 losses and 1 draw. So that's big, that's huge. So his replacement, that's something that you can say, okay, that's
how
fine.
many years ago? We're trying to go.
We're talking about
yeah, how long ago was that?
It's 2006, right?
And this is 2020, 2021.
So and he's been with the technical, obviously. I mean, he's the head of the technical committee of Nigerian Football Federation. So
technical director.
Technical director.
Okay.
So looking at that and also looking at his winning record, yes, he's ripe for it. I mean, on interim, obviously. I don't know if they're going to confirm after the Nations Cup. Fingers crossed about that. But after listening and analyzing all the things they talked about, you felt, okay, they were really afraid, thinking, if we allow this man, yeah, they were scared, they were afraid. How do you allow Super Eagles? I mean, a bunch of Super Eagles struggled to beat Cape Verde, and Sierra Leone couldn't even beat Sierra Leone anyway. Cape Verde, I mean, here in Lagos, you needed a draw, fine. But we were actually sitting on the edge of our seats to be able to get through that. So when you're looking at issues like that, and you're like, okay, maybe, yeah, they were right to fire him. And what about the timing? So that's the thing.
Time will tell if it's the right decision or not. But then we'd like to bring our viewers in into this conversation. We're still going to have it probably for the next couple of weeks until the AFCON starts, depending on how Nigeria is doing. I imagine that's going to shape the thoughts and views of a lot of people. But you can talk to us on channels, not on channels_sports, Sport This Morning at channels, Sport This Morning at channelstv.com.
Yes.
Yes, talk to us, send your messages. Loads came in yesterday. We will continue to take them before the show is over today. What do you make of the sacking of Rohr? And most importantly, what do you make about the NFF president saying that if they hadn't sacked Rohr, then there was a good chance that Nigeria flopped after AFCON, essentially saying disaster was averted by the sacking of Rohr. We've got a guest that's going to be joining us very soon as well too. Former Super Eagles player is going to be talking to us. We're going to be getting his thoughts on this development. But before then, let's get more reactions from Nigerians out there, journalists and fans alike, talking about the sacking of Rohr.
My pain is that those in charge of our football have not been able to address this drawback, this inability for us to have a classic playing pattern, a defined playing pattern. I'm not saying Eagles must win all their games, but it is on record that under Rohr, Nigerians were no more enjoying football. After all the stress of kidnapping, of hardship, of traffic and problems here and there, we thought with Super Eagles would give us succor, something to really make us celebrate. But we have a team who was giving us terrible results and nothing fast came from the Football Federation. It is quite sad. The NFF took too long to take a decision on Rohr. And for Austin Eguavoin, he has proved himself over the years. Great defense player, right from Bendel Insurance to ACB to clubs in Europe and all. And he had handled the national team before, even at the point taking us to a bronze medal at the Africa Cup of Nations. He has always been a stopgap coach, a stopgap manager. And I think, having him on interim capacity may not really bring out the best from him, because he's not surrounded by a long list of superstars, so to say, but not all of them can be addressed as coaches. If you want to have somebody in charge of a national team, let's have the head coach, let's have one or two assistant coaches, and give him the rule, let him be there.
Well, Eguavoin is someone who's played for Nigeria. He's won the Nations Cup with Nigeria. He's been part of the coaching crew, got a bronze medal as a coach. So he's got a lot of experience. He's got respect as well from the Football Federation. The Super Eagles players know he's the former captain. So he's that sort of person who walks into the dressing room with a lot of experience. And I think that it's a good idea that we've got someone who knows Nigerian football, someone who we expect a lot from Nigerian football. And now all the fans have to do is go behind and support Rohr. I beg your pardon. They have to support Eguavoin because we're going to the Nations Cup with this manager. You have to support your national team. Whoever is in charge, let him get his job done. I hope he goes on and wins the Nations Cup. That would be my expectation. And also qualify Nigeria for the World Cup. And I pray the Federation, in their knowledge, will maybe give to a local coach this time. It's time for us to also invest locally. He's someone who understands the league. He's coached clubs in the league. So I hope he's the technical director of the NFF. Who better to understand Nigerian football domestically than him? I just pray it works out good for all of us.
Rohr seemed like he was leading us nowhere. He started quite nicely, but it's like he had reached his capacity and he had nothing more to add. Our game with Central African Republic, our game with Cape Verde, showed us clearly that if we go into the Nations Cup and if we're thinking about qualifying for the World Cup and indeed go to the World Cup, we do not have the quality of structure that can make us excel and perform well in those competitions. So I think it was it was due time. But again, for me, it's not about sacking coaches. It's about the fundamental structures that drive our football. Look at it. The league, for instance, is neither here nor there. I mean, clearly and honestly speaking, something needs to be done. The CHAN team, the home-based team, they have been in the continent and they have also not been showing class, which shows that we're not producing at home. I see various sports federation trying to look for players and athletes in the diaspora. The athletics community did it at some point, and then we see football doing it, looking for children whose parents are Nigerian and who are either born in Germany or whatever to come and play for the Super Eagles. Clearly, we're not doing right at home.
Yeah, Fred, they're breaking it down for us and the reason why Rohr should be fired. You heard from other journalists talking about that. We'll now hear from a former Super Eagles player, Jonathan Akobari. We've heard reactions from different quarters, but now we need to get his own reaction concerning the sack of Coach Rohr, and also what Nigerian Football Federation president said, Amaju Pinnick, talking about the fact that if Rohr had taken the Super Eagles of Nigeria to the Nations Cup, we could have just crashed out at the group stage. Good morning. It's good to have you join us.
Good morning. It's nice to be here.
Great to have you. So straight to the question concerning the sack of Coach Rohr. What do you make of this?
I see it has been. It took too long. It took too long. I've been listening to everybody talking about him being sacked, and but the timing when they actually started the discussion was very, very late. From the last World Cup, the last game we played at the World Cup, there were so many signs that Rohr would not take us forward. There was nothing else that he could do for us because we were so bad at the World Cup that the NFF, I can bet with everything that I have that a lot of people who are technical enough to understand football would have known that this man would not bring us anywhere forward more than what he had done.
Interesting, Johnny. So Rohr's era, reign, obviously is run its course, and we got to go on, got to move forward. And the NFF have decided to place Augustin Eguavoin, someone you know very well, in charge of the team on a temporary basis, supported with a consortium of assistants. What do you make of that move, or those moves by the NFF?
Well, bringing Austin Eguavoin is right now at this particular moment is a plus for the national team. I can tell you any experienced coach would be better than Rohr right now. But Austin comes with a lot of experience. His first handling of the Super Eagles, we would agree, or we would say, he was actually learning on the job. But right now he has a whole lot of experience to handle the Nigerian team, not just on the field, but also the political issues that would bring pressure into the team. I have to say at this point, they would be unnecessary pressures because all of those things are the factors that would want you to have a foreigner to handle the Super Eagles, not a Nigerian.
Interesting, Jonathan. And talking about expectations and pressures, the AFCON is just about 26 days away. It's not far off again. And of course, Nigerians want to win gold again. It's been a long, long time. 2013 was the last time under the late, great Stephen Keshi. And of course, Nigerians don't care about whether Austin Eguavoin is an interim and he just got the job now. They want to go there and want Nigeria to win the title. For you, though, what is the realistic expectations for this coaching?
Right now, because it's so close, we would actually want to use the Nations Cup to prepare for the World Cup, but we haven't even qualified for the World Cup because that is another hurdle. I think all Nigerians would agree with me today that we should always win the Nations Cup. We are going to compete. We should not. It will not be a goal short and say, okay, maybe we want to qualify for the semi-final or we want to qualify for the final. We want to win the Nations Cup. We have a very good team that can actually perform and win the Nations Cup. It depends on the coach and the strategies that he will draw out, to prepare for the tournament. A tournament is not just a one-off game. You have to prepare for the whole tournament. That is why you have to give the coach the free hand to pick whoever he wants to pick, not some technical committee that will impose some certain players for him to carry to the Nations Cup. Because if he fails, then you have to blame everybody, not just the coach. But the expectations are just there for everybody to see.
Interesting. You mentioned, the coach needs to be given a free hand to pick the players he wants to pick. But if you look at the technical bench that NFF has actually selected for Coach Austin Eguavoin, where you have Salisu Yusuf, who is the chief coach, you also have 3 assistant coaches. Then you also have some other technical support. That's about 9 in all. What do you make of this? Are they too much? I mean, people. I mean, this particular adage that people talked about too many
They are all.
cooks.
They are,
spoiling the pot.
I am sorry to say this, but I have to be as blunt as possible because football is governed by international rules. They are not rules that are made in Nigeria that will make football successful. It is very, very strict. The coach is supposed to be in charge. All those names you mentioned are unnecessary. They are unnecessary regardless of how many games they've played for Nigeria. If they want to be there, it will be on advisory basis. The coach is supposed to be in charge. He's solely supposed to be responsible for everything the team does. If they want to sack, they sack only the coach because maybe he has not arrived at his goal. But every other thing is advisory. The coach is autonomous. He's supposed to be.
Interesting. Before we let you go, do you think Rohr left the Super Eagles better than he met the team?
My God, no. No, we played horrible football. It took so long. It took too long for the NFF to let him go. We were playing at home against a team that was so beneath us, and we were playing 3 defenders at the back. Who does that? And we were playing at home. We played so horribly, so him leaving us, it's so unfortunate. I was one of those people who actually fought for him to come to Nigeria and handle our national team at that time. But the deterioration of the team, I can't find the right words to actually describe the kind of football we were playing. But it was just so bad. So bad.
All right, Jonathan Akobari, we want to thank you so much for taking our time to talk to us this morning. Hopefully we can have you some other time, right?
Thank you very much. No problem about that.
Thank you. All right, we'll take a little time out. Iniobong Monday will be joining us to we'll get his thoughts on the sacking of Coach Kenneth Rohr and also the appointment of Austin Eguavoen as interim coach.
Welcome back to Channel Sport this morning. Iniobong Monday has now joined us. Ini, good morning. Always great to have you on the show.
Good morning, Tyra. Good morning, Cecilia. Great to be here.
Great to have you.
Smiling,
And we
right?
cut to the chase because the
He's
last
smiling.
time. Sorry?
He's smiling.
He's smiling. I wonder why.
Yeah.
We're going to have an idea very soon. The last time you were on the show, you talked about the Super Eagles needing a new direction. And you pretty much said the coach had to go. The coach is gone now, and there's a new interim boss in charge. You know all of that already. What do you make of all of that?
It's quite the timing for me. I'm not quite sure it's a great time to fire a manager. I'm not quite sure it's a great time. And there's no gainsaying that it was time for the manager to be moved on, and it wasn't quite happening for him. I'm one of the people, I've heard a lot of conversations in the direction that the manager has lost touch and all of that. I don't particularly think so. I don't think that from the start he was a guy who was the modern day type of manager.
He was never. Right?
He was never that manager. So when you say he's lost touch, you're trying to say that he was that before. I don't think he was at all. He was a good coach, a good football coach, an average coach, but he was not the guy who was going to take our football to the next level. Having said that, I think Nigerians need to temper their expectations a little bit because let's be honest, our players are not as good as we think they are.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think they are as good as we think they are. And I'll say this quite honestly, and sorry if I'm busting your bubble. There are not many Nigerian players in our team who will start a game for the Senegalese national team. I'll tell you that quite honestly. There are not many of our players who start a game for the Ivorian national team.
Can
there
we
are
get
not
one or
many
two
of our
names?
players.
Can we get two or three names?
Maybe we'll have one or two.
Names?
maybe a Wilfred Ndidi, or maybe a Victor Osimhen.
Those will start.
Just about that. But the rest can't get into that Senegal squad. They can't get into to the Moroccan squad. So our players are not that great. Now, having said that, they're not bad players.
So Chukwueze can't get into the national.
I don't think he does.
Chukwueze doesn't even play regularly for his team.
He doesn't play.
He has started playing regularly.
Yeah, come on, he doesn't play regularly.
So let's be honest. Our expectations, we think we're that good, but we're not that good in terms of our playing personnel.
But you don't need a world class.
I'm talking individuals.
Yeah.
Now, but you don't need players to be world class to build a good team.
Exactly.
You don't need that. And this is where the manager comes in.
Right.
To be able to play to the strengths of the players, Get a system that works for the players. Get a system that can get the players playing so well. And that's where Gunnar Rohr didn't quite pull his strength, because I generally do feel that every time I saw the Super Eagles play, it felt like a bunch of players who were thrown into the pitch to just go play football. Oh, you know how to play football, just go play. There was no sense of direction. There's no pattern. There was no methodology in terms of how are we approaching this game. Are we pressing high up the pitch? Are we containing the opponent? And guess what? The kind of footballers we have, the talent we have in terms of, I know we may lack in terms of a number 10. We may lack in that direction, but certainly from the flanks, we have a lot of talent that can compete with anyone in world football. We've got Chukwueze, you have Moses Simon, you have some of the best exciting young players on the flank. I don't think we play to their strengths. I don't think we use them well enough. And I think that the manager has to take the blame, because your job as a manager, I mean, I know you can, as much as you can do all you can on the training ground, but your job as a manager is to get the players to play, get them to play well. And the only way to get players playing well is to find a system that works for them.
All right. It's a whole lot, right? I know we can continue talking about...
Let's leave it at that for now.
We'll leave it, We can continue talking about Coach Genedro, and reactions will obviously continue to come. But we'll leave it at that for now. Later, we'll try as much as possible to read most of your tweets. There's so many. We'll try to read some of them. But then we'll leave the Super Eagles for now, rest it now, and talk about grassroots sports development. And this time around, we're talking about the Tola Awoshika Football Cup that was held in Akure over the weekend. Now, this is a foundation, of course, it's going to be held every year. It's the maiden edition. It was launched, and you have Ogun and another team playing against each other. And at the end of the day, ended in penalties. But this report just take a look at how this particular football competition was launched in Ondo State capital in Akure, and the dignitaries that were there. And the good news, as I mentioned earlier, is the fact that it's going to be every year.
The maiden Tola Awoshika Football Cup brings together dignitaries within and outside Ondo State, and this includes the Deputy Governor, Lucky Ayedatiwa, representative of the Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Sunday Dare, ex-international JJ Okocha, and popular hip-hop star Davido, friends and families of the sponsor Tola Awoshika.
This initiative has shown to everyone your love and passion for the development of youth through sports. Let me, therefore, use this forum to, on behalf of the state government, call on all well-meaning Ondo State indigents, philanthropists, corporate organizations, and individuals to emulate Tola Awoshika Foundation in organizing competitions not only in football, but in other sports of interest.
The ministry will support Tola Awoshika Football Cup 100% because it is in line with its mandate and its initiative, an initiative of this program and the project. We will support and engage the youth in this format.
Now to the field, Ondo City and Akura City had the privilege of being the first teams to kickstart the Tola Awoshika Football Cup. At the end of regulation time, it was goalless, and the organizers decided to present the maiden trophy and checks to both teams.
Congratulations. Ondo is a state that has 70% of its population as youth, so I felt like it was a good idea to come and engage the youth as Christmas, give them something to celebrate about. It's been a tough year for everyone, so everyone is here to celebrate and have a good time, celebrate sports, celebrate music, celebrate Christmas.
It was not all about football. Popular hip-hop musician David Adeleke, also known as Davido, filled the audience to spice up the event.
Yeah, the game was between Ondo City and Akure City. It ended goalless, no penalties were played, and both teams had to go home with 1.5 million naira. You saw the video actually thrilling the fans there. And also, I cited JJ Okocha. He was also there, and the essay to the minister. It simply shows that this Tola Awoshika's Cup, it's something that's come to stay, receiving support from everywhere, from S Internationals and also from the sports ministry.
Cecilia, it's always laudable when grassroots is at the forefront, because we believe that the only way to build sports is to build it from the ground up. You know, discover talents. You know, give them a platform. More importantly, you know, from a different perspective, you know, getting the youths busy, you know, engaged is also very important at a time like this in this country. So it's wonderful. It's great. Sustainability is always the question, you know, what are the mechanisms you're putting to ensure that you can sustain this tournament in the long term? Because once you have a consistent tournament going on, it's it's easier to say that you can build from there, you can build the talents from there can get an opportunity. Who's competing? Yeah. Those are questions we need to ask. Who are the people competing? Are they playing for professional football clubs or semi-professional football clubs? And it's always very important to get it very, very structured, so that in the years to come we can say that this certain gentleman played at the Tola Awoshika Cup many years ago. Now he's playing for Braga in Portugal. He's playing for Marseille in France. You know, it's always good. Great documentation. Just put things in structure and let's see where it goes from there.
Well said. Monday, I just like the fact that many more private initiatives are coming into sports development in the country. While we wait,
and that's what we that's what we always want. You know, private participation. You know, everyone thinks that government can do everything. I mean, it's almost impossible.
The government will just support you.
You know, the job of government, in my opinion, it just creates an environment that can allow people to thrive doing business, you know, policies, just create an environment, you know, give policies, you know, support when you can, you know, but don't leave it in the hands of government, because football is sports, is massive business. It's huge business, and the opportunities, you know, are abounding in the industry. You know, just people need to tap into it. But you know, there are peculiarities around here that make it very difficult for stuffs like this to thrive. But it's great to see participation from private individuals.
Just on. All right, so. Good news for the people of Ondo, for the youth of Ondo, yearly competition, the Tola Awoshika Football Cup. All right, we're still talking football, still a bit from the grassroots, I'd say. It's time to talk about the Creative Championship. That's a competition involving teams in the nationwide league. Match day 3, Cecilia, you have the results for all of those games. We're seeing pictures are coming from some of those games are played over the weekend as for match day 3. But we have the results for you, Cecilia. We'll take them before we take post-match reactions.
Yeah, talking about the results from match day 3, where you have Igomu FC and Imperial. It was Imperial winning by 2-1. Danas and Dino FC, same scoreline. Dino winning that one. Emidio and Beyond Limit. It was stalemates 1-1 and brought City and Atlantic Business 3-1. And there were some games will obviously go down today. In these games, Bagada FC will be in action against Igomu. Valiant FC and Emidion will also be in action. Of course, on Wednesday, you have Imperia and Broad City will be in action. Beyond Limit and Danas will also be in action on Wednesday for it. Now, we saw pictures earlier of the games that were played, the goals that were scored, especially Igomu and Imperia ending at 2-1.
Yeah, I saw some nice goals in this game. Monday, nationwide league clubs coming together to to form something just they can play before the official league starts. I think it's very commendable.
Yeah, it is very, very commendable. I quite like the turf. The pitch looks the part. It looks really nice, and this is where we should be playing football. Sadly, even at the MPFL level, you still see some very anti-football pitches. Being allowed to. For football to be played on them. So it's quite good. And for footballers or sports people generally, the idea is always to stay fit, match fit, competitive football matches, it keeps you going. And the inconsistent nature of our league structure makes it very difficult for these players. Very, very difficult for these players because, for a player, you have a timeline, Once you have a timeline, you know how to build yourself. The season ends at this particular time. You go for your vacation. You recharge your batteries. You're supposed to be back at this time.
Pre-season,
you should be back at this time. But because of the lack of structure, the lack of timing, it's very difficult for these players. So they have to take advantage of competitions like this, which is good. Shouldn't be so, to be honest. But it's great that it's great that there's something keeping some of these players busy. It's wonderful.
Well said again. Monday, let's go ahead and take our post-match reactions now coming from the camps of Igomu and Imperial.
I told you that we were going to come victorious at the end of the day because there were a lot of improvement from the boys. Yes, considering the fact that we lost our first home match, I told you that we were going back to the drawing board and we work more on our tactical input. And I'm very, very happy with the way the boys put in more effort to this game. And it was victorious.
First off, I want to thank the Lord God Almighty. It's not been easy. It's not been easy. From our first loss, we have been all work and no work. And I want to thank the coach, the management, my teammates. It's not just one man. It's everybody. It's not an individual job. We had to put in everything, and we give God the glory.
Like I always say, in a game of football, you can't decide what will happen at times. You win some, you lose some, you draw some. But I thought much I have to go back home and let me see, because I have to go back to my drawing board and replan my program again.
We lost the game mercilessly because we can't afford to be playing against our team. I'm very reluctant that we are winning when we are still under pressure. We are finding to come back into a game to draw the game, yet we still give it a chance to score more. That shows how careless we are and business-minded. We really need to work hard to come back stronger in the next games.
Players of Igomu FC and Imperial City reacting to their match day 3 clash in the Creative Championship. We're still talking football, but we're going to Europe now, to be precise, the UEFA Champions League, where for the first time in my lifetime, we saw a round of 16 draw being redone because of a technical problem, in quotes, that affected the first draw. Monday, are you one of those guys that have always had it at the back of your mind somewhere that perhaps these draws might actually be rigged somehow? Because what the heck just happened yesterday? What was that all about?
As a Nigerian, I mean, if you're a Nigerian and you do not have trust issues, I mean, we need to see, we need
Whether
to know
you're
where you
actually
grew up,
Nigerian.
you know,
Yeah.
because, you know, as Nigerians, we always have trust issues. We always think,
Standard.
somebody don't do Ojoro somehow.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was a case of Ojoro.
We're not the only ones that are talking about Ojoro. Atletico Madrid mentioned
Exactly.
it. Real Madrid also
as well.
mentioned Ojoro. So
the only reason
it's
Real
not just
Madrid
a
are complaining is
Nigerian
because
thing.
they are playing against PSG.
When they got Benfica first.
If the second draw pitted them against Lille, they won't be. Nobody will be complaining. They are only complaining.
Or did Atletico draw attention to everyone because they also drew against Bayern?
Bayern Munich, obviously. Now they have Man United. They're fine, but it was utterly embarrassing. You
Embarrassing.
know, it was utterly embarrassing. And for UEFA, you know, I've watched these draws for so many years, and the reason I can let them off the hook is the fact that it's never happened before. You know, we've not seen this before. You know, there's no precedent.
Okay.
You know, we can forgive them. You know, it's something. You know, obviously they blame the machines. You know, they blame
the software,
the software, the technical people who were supposed to let the people making the draws. You know, it's easy to put out blames, but obviously, I'm sure if. For what these people represent, for what they stand for, I'm very sure heads will roll. I'm sure somebody's going to lose their job or someone is going to be severely punished, you know, if we know what to do, because it's never happened before, and it was quite embarrassing.
Yeah, quite farcical. Yeah, that's how I describe.
I was seeing some tweets.
Okay.
You know, I was seeing stuff online. It was quite very funny, the banter. You know, that you know, someone said that Man United, you know, Man United have called UEFA something that Luke Shaw and Maguire didn't want to play against Mbappe.
I was just on the light side, but seriously though, a few years ago. I mean, there were allegations from, I think it was a former referee, talked about the vibrating balls that allows those guys that are drawing to know certain situations. Teams. Then I think it was the FIFA president talked about the hot and cold balls as well too. So these allegations have been there, and to have a situation like this yesterday,
so you can actually justify it.
I mean, it might not even justify it, but then the people that actually always believed something wrong with these processes will want to say, yeah, I told you guys, I told you, this is it.
On face value, on face value, the process actually looks very transparent.
Yeah.
You know, but when you
did you know there was a software involved in all of this before?
No,
did you know that there was a software telling them that, okay, you're gonna have to draw this certain? We didn't know that.
But, you know, from when you look at the points you just made now, you know, in terms of the soft ball, the cold ball.
Yeah,
I mean, that can be an area where someone can look at. You know, we're Nigerians. You know, we go to reason like this all the time. You know, it's allowed. It's allowed, but. It's something that it's not nice to hear, because you want fairness.
Yeah.
You want fairness in football, and you know, Chelsea got the better of the draw. You know, they got Lille twice. You know, so it was written in the stars for them. It was written in the stars for them. But the fact that they had the balls to say, let's do it again. You know, I quite appreciated that, because obviously, I mean, you can't let that pass. You can't let that pass. You can't. That draw was invalid. It was invalid. It was a couple of errors.
They could have stopped it earlier, though. I mean, they could have nipped in the bud ASAP instead of doing it, then having to do it all over again.
I thought that's what they could have done immediately when that Villarreal and Man United
stop it there.
Start the process all over again.
But
I think so.
waited for like 3 hours.
You know, I totally agree with you.
And they had a whole different broadcast for another 30 minutes.
Exactly. It makes Slayer run up and down, trying to resolve situations that way.
It's really when you blend out the story. So you already had a breaking news, Messi and Ronaldo meeting.
I was wondering, obviously, usually pre-COVID, representatives of clubs, you know, used to be in neon, usually. Yeah. Obviously, this was a virtual event.
Yeah.
I'm wondering it was a virtual event. Now, if after the draws, a lot of them were on their way to the airport, you know, pre-COVID, I'm thinking, if they were on their way to the airport, they were done. They're on their way to the airport, and then you call them and say, have you boarded? He said, I'm on board already. He said, oh, you need to come back and do the draw. It was a messy situation.
It was.
Yeah, let's leave it at that, guys. We need to go on a break. We'll leave it at it was a gaffe, nothing more. And hopefully, and obviously going forward, we don't get to see situations like that again. We need to go on a break now. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the Europa League. Barcelona having paired against Giants from Italy. We'll let you know all about that after this. You're welcome back to Channel Sport this morning. Let's take a look at the Europa League draw. And for obvious reasons, a lot of attention, a lot of eyes on Barcelona dropping from the UEFA Champions League for the first time in a long, long time, almost 20 years, I believe. And they are going to be playing in the second-rate UEFA competition. And it doesn't get any easier for them because they've been paired against Napoli. That's the headline fixture, definitely. There are other games as well, so you can see the fixtures right there on your screen. Porto and Lazio also looks very, very appetizing, it must be said. Barca, Naples.
Tasty fixture.
Tasty.
The Europa League this year. I'm looking at the draws and it's quite exciting. I think it will be a lot more exciting than the years before. I mean, you're looking at Atalanta, Olympiacos.
Dortmund.
That should be a very tasty fixture. Dortmund, Rangers.
Porto.
Great one. Looking forward to Dortmund going to Ibrox.
Yeah.
And of course, Zenit and Real Betis. Real Betis are flying in the La Liga, playing exceptionally so. Porto last year it's not a main game as well. It should be very interesting. But I mean, how have the mighty fallen? Barcelona playing in the Europa League. I mean, it's a massive culture shock for Barcelona fans. In their wildest imagination, they wouldn't have thought that they would fallen so much. But I know Barcelona will be back, but let's just enjoy it. I saw the Europa League tweeting, "Welcome to the Europa League for Barcelona." It's crazy, but I mean,
it is what it is.
The world is not coming to an end.
Nah, it is.
But another thing is that you don't have the star players for Barcelona anymore. They're just an ordinary team right now. That's what they're looking like.
All right.
Okay, we'll leave it and quickly touch down on United and Brentford.
No,
that
good
game,
news.
not a good news at all because they will not be traveling to Brentford because of the coronavirus outbreak in their camp. That was immediately after that game against Norwich City. As a result, their first team training ground, it's been shut down.
Yeah, so no United
Brentford
it's sad.
Today. It's just sad. I hope this doesn't push to a closure of the stadiums again, you know, to fans, because we're hearing the latest
Germany,
test. They did
already.
about 3,000 tests and 42 came out positive. And it's not good news at all. It's really not good news. And we, at the time of the year where, you know, think games are coming thick and fast, you know, you start piling up games for teams, you know. Tottenham already have got two games postponed, you know, 2 outstanding games. United now have one, Brentford now have one in, and it's getting crazy. It's getting crazy, and we wish everyone to be safe out there.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. Rona starting to rear her ugly head again. Let's leave football, quickly touch down in the NBA. Games are played this morning, 9 matches or 9 games in total, and our focus is going to be on the matchup between the Milwaukee Bucks and the Boston Celtics. The Celtics are prevailing in that game 117 to 103. Jason Tatum with 42 points in that victory, 16 coming in the fourth quarter. That's what you call being clutch. And there are also wins for the Cavs on the night. Isaac Okoro scoring 18 points for the Cavs in the victory over the Miami Heat. There were also wins for the Toronto Raptors, the Houston Rockets, the Memphis Grizzlies, Dallas Mavericks, Denver Nuggets, and the LA Clippers. Our star matchup is between the Bucks and the Celtics, like I said. And in that game, Jason Tatum was the star of the show. We also saw the return of Jaylen Brown return to the lineup after missing 5 games with a tight right hamstring. He scored 19 points for Boston on the night. On the flip side, it was Giannis Antetokounmpo with 20 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 assists for Milwaukee. Let's get post-game reactions now coming from Coach Ime Udoka of the Boston Celtics, as well as Jason Tatum.
Both ends, like the vibe, the feel. You know, when we have 31 assists, obviously on 43 baskets, you can see it, feel it, the difference out there. And so offensively, the ball was moving. Obviously, Jaylen coming back is a difference maker as far as a guy that can create, but not only for himself and others, it's the space he opens up for everybody else. Less attention to Jason, guy to have to account for. So you saw that on the offensive end. Defensively, really did a good job on Antetokounmpo, especially in the first half, 7 points. Taking him out, being the focal point there, we knew he was going to be aggressive in the second half, but not only did we score 30 in the last 3 quarters, we defended them well and held them into the 20s.
Feels good. Feels good to be back home, play in front of our fans, have most of our team back. Obviously, we still missing Jay Rich, but great to have JB back and just hit some shots and just play well together.
Jason Tatum speaking after his best performance of the season. He struggled a bit shooting the ball, but yesterday or this morning against the Milwaukee Bucks, it was simply sensational offensively. Let's take a look at our standout performance before we take a look at the papers. All of the guys that stood out for their team, starting with Nikola Jokic at 28 points, 19 rebounds, and 9 assists for the Denver Nuggets in a victory over the Washington Wizards. Eric Gordon as well, too. Best game in a long time for the Houston Rockets, 32 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists. The Rockets are back to winning ways. Jason Tatum, the star man of the night, 42, 5, and 4 for the Boston Celtics against the Milwaukee Bucks. Trae Young, unfortunately, was on the losing side, scored 41 points, 4 rebounds, and 9 assists. They lost against the Houston Rockets.
All right, that's it for the NBA. We promised to read some tweets before we...
yeah, tweets, yeah.
Mail.
Yeah, you're just like me.
Okay.
Mails.
You put that. Okay.
We'll take some mails.
Nagudu is a bit long, but we'll try and take it. He said there's nothing wrong in sacking Rohr. He should be sacked immediately. He should have been sacked immediately after World Cup. You can't even understand that. You can't even understand what the team is playing. Anytime Super Eagles is playing, it's so much frustration and heartbroken is what we experience. And heartbreak is what we and a broken heart is what we experience. It took too long for NFF to let him go. We played so horribly to the extent no team is afraid of Super Eagles. I make sure Guavon will and the rest the rest of the coaching staff. I mean, trying to wish Austin Guavon and the rest of the coaching staff a good outing. And Samsi Adeyemi says, good decision. His football philosophy is not consistent with that of Nigeria. Class of 94 may seem the answer, but we need a world-class coach. I know when he refers to that class of 94 because of the consortium of coaches that we have. Bonuka Ogochukwu says, personally, it's not the best time. And Alfred Iboji, okay, this is also another long one. It's difficult to...
skip it short.
Yeah,
I mean... to take everything.
The highlight of it is that it said this was for the best interest, and the lots of questions have been asked why Kenneth Rohr was given this circle of contracts and all. He wasn't impressive. So he feels that we should leave our Nations Cup campaign in the hand of a Guavon, another technically unproven manager. We shouldn't have done that. I think it's asking the question, why should we allow, why Guavon? Basically, that's the question he's asking. But then, okay. So quickly we'll look at the papers. We just have 2 for today. Complete Sports, that's what I'm starting up with. In Complete Sports, you have Amonike says, I'm available for Super Eagles job. That's in Complete Sports here.
You're surprised it's not even one of the consultants.
Has he got the pedigree for the job? You know, because for me, the Super Eagles, it's a big kettle to fry. It's a massive job. That's the point. Has he got the pedigree to do the job? What was his last job like? What has he been doing in the past 2 years?
Yeah, national team.
Tanzania, I mean,
the AFCON.
That was a long time ago, and I quite liked him with what he did. And their coaches who could do well.
What was Kenneth Rohr's pedigree before coming?
Hold on, Cecilia. Their coaches who would do well with a relatively unknown squad, relatively unknown players. When you walk into that dressing room and there's Victor Osimhen and there's Alex Iwobi, big egos in that dressing room. It's a different kettle of fish.
Amunike's standard is way, way higher than tiny Victor Osimhen and, okay, I'm sorry to use the word, but I think come on, Nations Cup winner.
Pedigree.
Yeah, he's got a higher one.
When you walk into a dressing room, the same thing that happened with Oli. Oli was coaching Mulder. You put him in the dressing room with Bruno Fernandes and Ronaldo.
Are you telling me we have big boys in that Super Eagles squad? The only person I'm going to pick out is Odio Igalo. Every other one, I mean.
Let's take a look at the second paper, guys.
Okay, yep, it's all about the draw here. Man U draws Atletico and Amajo while we fired Rohr into the rate Ronaldo over Messi. And Aribo on Man City United radar. I would really love that. Yes.
City and United.
Yes, that's according to Sporting Sun. Yes.
His agent is working
Joseph
hard.
Aribo. I want to see
Believe it or
that
not.
happen.
Yeah,
Believe it
his
or not.
agent is working very hard.
Thank you so much, Ini, for coming on
Thank
the
you
program.
so much, Cecilia. Thank you, Taya, so much.
Always
Pleasure
good,
to
sir.
be here.
Yeah. Same here. Thank you all for watching as well. Enjoy the rest of your day. I am Tayo. Salam.
Thank you. See you tomorrow.